yesterday we saw getting started with Docker, all right? And we play with Docker up till Docker images by pulling Docker images, all right? Now, the next on that list, we would look at pushing the Docker image, right? That is saving the Docker image on a container registry, okay? So we'll be looking at both Docker Hub as well as AWS ECR, all right? So, but before I go ahead, was there any doubts yesterday? Was there any doubts in the course of your practice? Bam, 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 bam. All right. Okay. So let's quickly touch base. Okay, so in today's class, we shall look at Docker push, Docker login, all right, Docker login, and okay, Docker copy. Okay, before this part, we shall look at database, all right, database, okay. So we shall see how to create a database container, a DB container, and connect to the DB container, all right, from outside of the container itself, all right? So we're going to practicalize all of that, okay? So connect, copy. So we will start with the database. So systemctl status docker.service is not running. So let me restart. Restart. Enable. All right. So Docker ps -a. So we have these number of containers that we spun up yesterday. So Docker images, let's check a lot. So let me delete everything. So Docker RMI, all right, dollar into Docker images -q, right? Now, I want to get an error while deleting all of these images. The reason is a lot of these images have been used to create a lot of containers. A lot of these images have been used to create a lot of containers. So we're going to have some difficulty removing them. Let's check. Let's check. All right. So this is what we're saying. Error response from daemon, conflict, unable to delete this guy. It must be forced. Image is being used by a stopped container. So we are having, so it's not going, all right? We're having this error on four of the images. Now, if I check, so maybe some may have gone. Docker images. All right, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 can't go. 4 of these images cannot go. So for me to forcefully, because if I try to delete them again, I'll get the same error. I can't delete them. Now, for us to delete this guy, I'm going to pass a flag, -f. -f is a forceful deletion. It's a forceful deletion, telling Docker that, see, these images have containers that you are created out of them. All right. For you to delete the images and the containers that are associated with them, you have to pass a flag, the -f flag, to forcefully delete the images. So if I hit enter, it should go with ease. You can see I've deleted everything. If I say Docker images, it's as clean as cleaner. That's clean as cleaner. Great. Now, what we have to do today is database. Now, let me just show us a small trick, all right? Dealing with database containers. So I'll do a Docker pull. Docker pull, MySQL. Enter. Done. Docker images. Now I have a MySQL image. So I want to create a container out of the image. So I'll say Docker run -d in detachable mode. All right. The name of the container is mycon. Then what? Then I need to pass environment variable. Remember, without passing an environment variable to MySQL Docker container, it's going to exit. That is the requirement. All right. So MySQL underscore root. So the environment variable will be MySQL underscore root underscore password. Password is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the root password, right? Then what else? Now MySQL by default runs on port 3306, right? 3306. Okay. So now there's a concept called port forwarding. Let me explain so that we'll understand it very well, right? Because when we get to web application, all right, when we start playing with web application, we shall perform a lot of port forwarding, all right? Now, in the context of port forwarding is a process of mapping. This is a process of mapping an external port to an internal port. That is port forwarding. All right. Now, watch now. Now, I have an external port. External port. This port is being mapped to an internal port. In the context of MySQL, all right, the external port is 3306. So the internal port is 3306. Now, this is what it means. The internal port, this is the default port number of the application. It is the default number of the application. Now, there are default port numbers. Like for HTTP, you have port 80. For HTTPS, you have 443. For MySQL, you have 3306. So the default port number is 3306. Now, this port number internally, I want to map it to an external port. You know very well that I cannot access this port internally from external access. For instance, now I need to access this service, all right, externally. I cannot directly access this service on an internal port. Rather, I'm going to perform a port forwarding. A port forwarding that's going to map the internal port to an external port. Any port, any number I give here. So that is the number I will use in reaching this service internally. 1 second, guys. So guys, so when we are talking about port forwarding, we have an internal port that the service uses by default. This is through this service, through this port, the service communicates. Now, because of we need to access that service from external access. So we are performing what? A port forwarding, a port mapping to map any port number to the default port number internally. All right. So again, there are situations where the external ports will be the same as the internal port. That is your own design. That's how you want it. It's not that it is default. It is how it is. No, it's not how it is. That is how you want it. So anything you place externally, this guy here, this first 3306 is external port, while this guy is internal port. I have decided that, okay, my port mapping, both external and internal, will be the same. That is the idea of port forwarding. Is there any question, guys, or any confusion? All right. Now, let's do our thing. Docker run -d --name mycon -e my SQL underscore root underscore password is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is port mapping. -p, we use -p to perform port forwarding. All right. So 3306 column 3306. So what is happening here? I am mapping the external port towards the default internal port. Then space the image name. Obviously, the image name is MySQL. And I'll hit enter. I was saying, okay, I've not deleted some containers. It's already in use by a container. mycon. All right. So Docker ps-a. We have a lot of containers here. So let me delete these containers. So Docker rm. All right. $. I'm deleting everything. Docker ps-q. Right? Because if I run this command, Docker It's like, I didn't show us yesterday, dash Q. No, what was it now? Dash AQ, sorry, dash AQ, guys. Dash AQ, dash A will display everything. Now, Q will only print for me what? The container ID. The what? Container ID. Container ID. Here is the container ID. All right, take note, guys. So this is what I would do. I'll say Docker RM, all right, dollar into Docker PS dash AQ, bracket close. So this command is going to delete everything. Everything, they are all gone. So if I say Docker PS dash A, is all clean. Clean. All right. So now let's recall our command. This command, right? So exclamation sign 145. So what I did is history. I checked the history to check my last command. Now, to execute that last command without typing everything, all I need to do is to type exclamation sign followed by the number of that command. On this history table, the number of this command is 145. So I'll just say exclamation sign 145. It's going to execute that entire line. All right, great. So if I need to print everything like this, I'll say exclamation sign 146 to print out everything. All right. So now our container is up and running. Docker PS is up and running, right? Great, fine, making sense. Now, let us now exec into this container. All right. So I'll say Docker exec dash IT, the container name, mycon, then bash. I am now inside of my SQL container. So in this container, we have my SQL client, all right, which is my SQL. So I can easily say my SQL dash U root dash P, enter. Oh, why is asking for password? Why is guys now? Using, oh, I specify password. Sorry, guys. I specify password safe. I can't do Jones. So password is 1234. So you can see I have logged into what? Into my SQL database. All right. So I can now say show databases. So these are the databases I have. Right. Now, let's say for instance, I want to exit. Now I'm now back to my what? Local machine. I don't want to use this method, Docker exec, into the container, into the database container, and start running and start creating database and start using the database. I want to be outside of that container, all right, and logging into the database. So it means that I have a virtual instance. This is my EC2 instance. From my EC2 instance, I have a running container. I have a MySQL container. All right. I don't want to exec into this container and start running database commands. I want to be on this EC2 instance and exec into this guy. Let me not use the word exec. I want to be on this guy and just use only that database. Now, how do we do it? Now, let's check now. So to make that work, I have to install my SQL client, which I don't have here. If I check my SQL, I'm pressing my tab key. It's not coming up. I don't have it. So I'll install my SQL. Yum install my SQL. I just need my SQL client. So, okay, this guy is coming. So this guy will give me my SQL client. I'll say yes. Great. I now have my SQL. You can see I have my SQL client. Okay. So with my SQL client, I can comfortably log in from my EC2 instance into the database. Let's check if that is possible. So now, before I do that, I'm going to inspect the container. By inspecting the container, I need the IP address of the container. So I'll say docker inspect. The container name is my con. Let me do that command again. Docker inspect the container name, my con. So inspect command is to check the configuration, all right, of the container. You can also inspect an image, Docker images. I want to inspect this MySQL. I'll say Docker inspect this image to see what they have written in this image. I don't have an idea. MySQL. I don't have an idea of this image. Let's go scroll to the top. Let's go to the top. So here's the beginning, all right? Inspect image. The idea of this image is this. The repository tag is MySQL latest. Repo digest is this. There's no host name, there's no domain name. User is empty. Image, volume, all these are empty. Docker version, user, empty. Now let's check the environment variables. Have you seen those environment variables? All right. So these are environment variables that, okay. This is MySQL version. MySQL major is innovation. SQL version is this. MySQL shell version is this. Let's keep scrolling. Come here, da. Oh. All right. So data. Let's check. I think that's all. One sec, guys. One sec. Okay. So this is the way you can see what is inside an image, right? Okay, you can see the operating system in this image is Linux. The size is this, virtual size, etc., etc. So now let's also inspect what's it called? The container that we just created. So I'll say docker inspect my con. All right. Now let's scroll to the top. Let's scroll. There are a lot of things. Do you see the way the container has more things? Now, docker inspect my con. The ID is this. It was created this date. Arguments. The status, it is running. Running is true. Home killed. Home killed is called out of memory. So we're going to see this home kill when we get to Kubernetes, right? We're going to see is a behavior of container, right? When we get to Kubernetes, we are going to reproduce this error so that we can see this home killed, all right? Great, guys. So this is the image hash, okay? And the name of the container is mycon. Restart count, it has not been restarted. Let's scroll. Binding, network mode, port binding. You can look at the port binding here now. Guys, look at now. The default is this 3306, which is the host port. All right, host IP, there's no host IP, host port is this. All right, so let's scroll, keep scrolling. CPU quota, a lot of things, man, keep scrolling. Now get to volume, it has its own volume. When we get to volume, we understand volume very well. The host name is the container ID. All right. Now, these are the exposed ports. This is the exposed port, which is the external port. This part is the external port, right? Now, these are the configuration, which is the environment variable. You can see the environment variable that we set. MySQL_root_password is this. All right, great. So yeah, what else? What else? Now, network settings. Under network settings, let's check. Let's go. So this container has an IP address of 172.17.0.2. So this is the IP address of the container. All right, great. So that's it. The IP address. Let's close. That's all. So what we need is the IP address that's going to act as the host. All right, either of the IP address or the container ID. Let's check. So now I want to log in to this guy from my EC2 instance. So what I'll do, I say MySQL -u is root -h. H means the host. The host will be this IP address. The host will be this IP address. Copy and paste. Then the password. Let me check this. Let me enter. The password is 1234. Caching authentication plugin cannot be loaded, blah, 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 cannot open shared object file, no such file or directory. All right. So now let me try and see if I can log in via the container ID. Docker PS. Now let's record that command. MySQL -u is root -h is a container ID. Then -p, let's check. 1234. Unknown MySQL server host. The first one was cannot be loaded. This plugin password. Okay, what does it try? Let me try. Let me try. I can't go with the name. I can't go with the name of the container. I can't go with the name of the container. My con. 1234. All right, no, I can't go. So well, let me try something. All right. Okay. So let me start this service. MySQL on my base machine is not starting. So let me check. System CTL restart MySQL. I don't have it. So let me install MariaDB. What's this now? Yum install MySQL server. Install MySQL server. All right. Yum install MariaDB. MariaDB server. Yes. Okay. System CTL restarts MySQL. Okay, it's not found. MariaDB. MariaDB.service. What's it? Why is it failing? Why is it failing? Okay, this guy is failing. All right, guys, take notes. Most of the time, when you start MariaDB service or MySQL, it will fail due to some reasons. All right, due to some reasons. So let's check the process. If there's any process using this guy, PSAUX. Is any? There's no. Okay, there's this guy here. There's this guy, leave store. It's being used by MySQL D, right? So I need to kill this process by the name. So I'll say pq mysql d. Now let's check one more time. AUX. So that guy has gone. So let's try to restart the MariaDB service. So I'll say system ctl restart MariaDB service. You can see. So that process was actually restricting the MariaDB service from starting. So these are little basic troubleshooting you must be aware of, right? Because this thing can be very, very frustrating. Okay, can be very, very frustrating. Now, if I had not seen that that process, that MySQL process running, all right, the next troubleshooting I would have looked at is the default storage, right? The default storage of MariaDB, which is under /var/lib/MySQL, right? So if I go here now, I will see the default storage of MySQL. So it means that if I create any file, database, anything, it's going to come into this file. Look at the location. This is the default home page, the default home directory of MySQL. All right. So what I would have done is I would have deleted everything in this file. Delete everything in this file, then try to start MySQL. The MySQL is going to rewrite this content back to this file and it will start officially, to start normally, right? So that's another way. If I had not seen this process, if I had not seen this process running, that would have been my next step of action by deleting everything under /var/lib/MySQL. All right, guys. Now let's try that guy again. Now that we've started, the service is running. So let's try that command one more time. I'll say MySQL -u root -h. H is going to be, let's check again, Docker PS. Whoa. Okay. Was that the container? Yes, I think that was the container. PS-A. PS-A. So let's restart it. All right. So I'll say Docker starts my con. What was it saying? Error starting. This is listen on this address already in use. Fail to start container. Okay. I just need a client now. So guys, what's happening is MariaDB is using this port. It's using this port number. No. MariaDB is using this port number. All right. So let me stop system ctl stop MariaDB. Now let me try to start that service again. Docker starts my con. So you can see it has started. So you can see the conflict. That was why MariaDB couldn't start, because there's a container using the same port as MariaDB that is running on the same machine. All right. So system ctl restarts MariaDB to give up an error. It will throw up an error. You can see that the error is coming. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to create a separate container I want to create a separate container. So on that container, I'm going to log into this MySQL container. So let's do a Docker pool. Docker pool Ubuntu. Ubuntu, yeah. So yeah, Docker images. Now let's create a container out of that what Ubuntu. So Docker run dash vit. Name is Ubuncon. All right. Then the image name. All right. Enter. So now Docker PS, I have my Ubuntu also running, right? So I'm going to execute into that Ubuntu and install MySQL client. So this is what I will do. So I'll say Docker exec dash it ubuncon, then bash. Now I am inside of the Ubuntu container, right? So I can say apt update. Great. I can now do something. I can install apt install MySQL. I just need only MySQL clients. Why is it? What the fuck is this? Axeris. Why is it going to install everything? This guy said. Bam, 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 bam. Um, is MySQL clients. So that's supposed to install yourself. MySQL clients. Yeah, yeah. MySQL dash client. That's supposed to install. And I ended up installing everything. So let it finish. Geographic area is Africa 1. Enter. Lagos L 31. Taking some time. Oh, why is in the hang? Why the hang? Why is in the hang? What did happen to this guy now? Or let me terminate this guy. Guys, one second. Dash IT, Ubun bash. All right. So, mas, why gonna install? All right. So let's see if we can jump from this guy to the other guy, right? Which is from this server to the other server. Let me check my service system. All right. This is not installed. etc init.d MySQL status. Remember, we did it yesterday. So it's saying that MySQL is stopped. So let's start it. MySQL start. MySQL database server warning cannot change directory, no such file. Let's restart. Restart. Now let's check the status. Check status. So now status with things too plenty. Status. So status is showing that copyright, Oracle, blah, 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 server version. Is it showing running? Yeah, is it showing running? Okay, uptime, 12 seconds ago. Okay, now let's see if we can jump from this machine to the other machine. So I'll say MySQL -u root -host. The host is the IP address of, let's use the IP address, all right? So let me exit. So exit. I'm exited. But before that, let me inspect this Ubuntu container. Inspect Ubuntu. Let's inspect Ubuntu. So this Ubuntu, wait, is it the same thing? It has this IP address. Let's inspect mycon. Oh, mycon is 0.3, all right? While Ubuntu is 0.2, all right? Great. So 172.17. Now let's go back to that guy again. Let's exec into Ubuntu. Now run MySQL-u is root. Then the host is 172.17.0.3. Then -p. Let's check if this one will fly. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see, guys. So I have been able to connect from one container to another container. Let's go back to our Blackboard. So I've been trying to do it from my instance. So it wasn't going through. Okay. So I needed to show us how we can, how we can connect from one container. 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. We've been able to establish connectivity between the Ubuntu container, all right, and the MySQL container, all right. So on the Ubuntu container, by default, maybe when we get to networking, Docker networking, all right, we should explain Docker networking properly to our understanding, right? Because every container that you create, it automatically takes network from the default network. There's a default network, right, in Docker. I wouldn't want to digress. Let me just leave it at that level, right? So we've seen a way where we could establish connectivity between the Ubuntu container and the MySQL container. So I was able to um to um to I was able to use the database service that is running on a different container from a different container. So that's what just happened now. So from here now, I can now start creating database. I can say show databases, create database Ubuntu DB created. Now use what? Ubuntu DB. Now I have switched. I have changed what? Database, right? I can now start creating tables, creating data, etc., etc. All right. Show databases. I have the Ubuntu DB, right? So I'll exit. So this is from what? My Ubuntu container. Look at the command, guys. MySQL root, user is root. The host is the MySQL DB. All right. My MySQL container. So this is the host of MySQL container. On that container, there is MySQL. Obviously, it's a MySQL container, right? Then the password, etc., etc. So with this, we've been able to establish that. So now that was databases. Okay. Now let's look at how we can do a Docker push. All right, let's push this guy. But before I do a push, let me see how I can copy files from my base machine into a running container and from the container into my base machine. Let's try that and see. Let's try it and see. So I want to copy some files. So in here, do I have a file? Okay, I have a history.txt. Let me create a lighter file. Okay, that's okay. So I want to copy this history.txt into the Ubuntu container. All right, into what? Ubuntu container. And this is what we'll do. I'll say Docker CP. Docker CP, the file name. I'm copying this file into 172 dot, let me see if this will work. 17.0.2 column / root. Let me see if it will fly. No such container paths. Let me try to use the container name. Ubuncon. Okay. Based on the name. Let's check. Let's do a Docker exec into that container. Docker exec -it container name Ubuncon, then bash. Now let's check. Do I have history? Is under /root, right? /root. All right. So change directory. Great. Let's check. Hello, guys. This is the file. That is the file that we just copied from the base machine into the running container. Now, let's create some files here. Let me say touch. toby.csv. I've created this file, toby.csv. I want to copy this file into my base EC2 instance. I will exit from the container. Like I can see, I don't have that Toby file here. So this is what I would do. I say Docker copy, Docker CP. CP from Ubuncon column, you specify the path that has the file. The path to that file is root/toby.csv. Then I'm copying that file into my current directory. In that way, I use my the dot notation. I'll press enter. Let's check if we have that, if we've gotten the file. ll. You can see I have copied a file from the container into my base machine. Hello guys. So this is the manipulation. All right. So now we've seen Docker copy. Now let's look at Docker push. So for me to do a Docker push, I must prepare my image. I will prepare one image. On this image, which is the Ubuntu container, let me go into that image again. Let me do bam 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 docker exec -it ubuntu bash. Great. So in here, I want to install some stuff. I want to say apt install Apache 2. Apt install Apache 2. Apt install was interrupted. Apt update. Apt update. I think after this phase, we shall do an introduction of Dockerfile. All right. We'll take small break. We'll take small break. 7, 8, see about 30 minutes. We'll take small break. Then we'll talk about Dockerfile. Why isn't it take the whole day now? You don't mess me up again. Don't mess me up. Fuck up. Don't mess me up. Resume recording. I need to create an image out of the running container. All right. So I'll say Docker PS. Definitely these guys are stopped. PSA. So let's get them started. So Docker starts Ubuntu on. And Docker starts my con. Great. Right. Now Docker PS. Docker PS. I should have these guys running. So now I have a ready-made container. Now I want to convert this container into an image. After converting it into an image, I want to publish that image to my Docker registry, right? So I'll say Docker, what command do we use? What command am I going to use? Yes, guys, talk to me, no time. What command am I going to use to convert a container to an image? Yes. Toby, yes. Any idea? On mute, no get time. We don't get time. Atiku, any idea?
You have to create the Docker file.
Sorry?
I said you have to create the Docker file.
Were you in the class yesterday?
No.
All right. Onoche.
I think it's Docker run space hyphen
No, don't worry.
IT or something.
You're far from it. Sani. Austin. Have we watched the video of yesterday? No. Dotun. All right. So now I have a running container. I need to convert that container back to an image. It's Docker commit, guys. Docker commit. We did it yesterday. Docker commit. The container name is what? Ubuntu. The image name. Obun img version 1. So this is going to create a new image out of this container. Let's wait. Why this thing they happen now? What did they happen? All right, this thing takes some time. Let's wait. But this Ubuntu container heavy. What do you mean problem now? What do you mean problem? All this problem. Oh, now wow. Hey, don't create. All right. So this image has been created. So I'll say Docker images. You can see we have what? ObunIMG version 1, right? Now that I have prepared my image out of my running container, I will need to what? Publish this image on my Docker registry. So if you have not gotten a Docker Hub Docker Hub account, please go and have it for official purposes. All right. So this is what I will do. The first thing first, I'm going to do a Docker login. So Docker login is going to ask for my username. My username is Frankie's Infotech. Enter. The password. So I've put my password. Let's see. Now to tell me that login was successful. Login was successful. Warning, your password will be stored unencrypted in this. So this is where this guy is saving this password. If I check now, I will see my password there. Configure a credential helper to remove this warning. See HTTP, blah, 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 credentials, blah, stop. So it's giving us a warning that your password has been saved here in plain text under this place. Maybe when you practice your own, all right, you get this warning. Check your password at this config.json location, right? Make sure you check it. Login was successful. Now let me try and check my Docker registry. I'll say hub.docker.com. hub.docker.com. So I'm going to log in. Remember, you can always sign up, right? You can always sign up. It's free of charge, guys. It's open source, free of charge. So let me sign in. Username is Frankie's Infotech. Frankie's Infotech. Enter. Password. So now I have logged on to my what? Docker registry. So these are a lot of images in my registry. So many. So where I work currently, we make use of my accounts. All right. So yeah. So I can create a repository. All right. But let me create a repository so that okay, let me try and see first. Let me try. Now I have logged in. So I want to do a Docker push. Docker push. I want to push this guy. I want to push this image. Obun img. So it's going to be my username. That's my Docker username. Frankie's info tech / Obun img column the tag v1. Let me see if this thing will fly. Enter. The push refers to the repository, this guy. Okay. An image does not exist locally with this tag. Okay. So I need to create a tag in this way. Then I can push it. All right. So let me create a tag. I'll say Docker tag. Guys, listen though. I'm creating a Docker tag of Ubuntu img column v1 to this guy. So the tag you're going to create the tag is going to have the name of your Docker repository. Take note, guys. So it's complaining. You need to create a tag, right? So I'm creating a tag. This is the old name, and this is going to be the new name, all right? So if I hit enter, let's check. The tag has been created. So if I see Docker images, look at now. We have this guy now. This image and this image, they are the same thing. It's just that this is the format that Docker Hub accepts. Docker registry does not accept something like this. It accepts something like this. Your username followed by the image name followed by the tag. So this was what we did. Docker tag, this guy, the old image, then the new name. All right. Now I can do a Docker push. Docker push. Push who? Push this guy, Frankie's, which we have now. Push this image. Copy and paste, column V1. Enter. So with this, now you can see now, it's now pushing this image from my local repository into what? My Docker repository. Let's wait, guys. Let's wait. Let us feel it. Just feel them. Keep pushing, guys. It's about 1.915 GB. What have you? You have it die. All right, so this guy has been pushed to my Docker registry. So let's check. So I'm going to refresh. Refresh this guy. Can you see, guys? So this is my new image. Let's open it. If I click on it, so you can see. So if anybody wants to pull this image, he will always use this command, Docker pull this part. All right, this image column, the tag name v1. All right. So is there any question, guys, before we move to ECR? When we shall get to Jenkins, we are going to automate all this process. This thing is manual. We don't need all these things, but it's good that we understand how it is done. All right. Let's move to ECR so that we can know that anything about Docker pull push, we are done with it. All right. So we left with what? Module 3, which is Docker files. Right? So I'm done here. So you can always delete this guy if you don't want it. All right. Go to your repositories. You have it here. Is there a delete somewhere? There should be delete somewhere. Boy, she done plenty, y'all. Tag. Okay, it's like I can delete from here. Yeah, I can delete. So you come to tags, then you can always delete. all right? Can always delete. So if I click on delete, confirm, delete. So it's gone, guys. That guy is gone. So going back here, I don't think it's, so the repository is just there, right? The repo is just there, but the tag is gone. Can I delete the repository? Let me check. This guy, repository. I can't delete this repository. This repository does not have a description. Builds. No, I can't. That will be some other time. All right. So now let's now look into what AWS ECR. So AWS ECR, which is Elastic Container Registry, right? So Elastic Container Registry is a container registry, right? It's an image registry where you can save your images whenever you want to use it, right? It's the same thing as Docker Hub, right? But just that Docker Hub is open source, but ECRO is proprietary. ECRO is owned by AWS. So let's go to AWS, all right? So this is my AWS account, duplicate. I'll come to the search bar, I'll type ECRO, Elastic Container Registry. Then all right. So now I'm going to go here. I'm going to now in AWS ECR, there is public registry and there is private registry. So we're going to play with the likes of these registries, right? Let's start with the public registry and see how it goes. Now I'm going to go to public registry. I don't have anything. Let's come to repository, right? So now under repository, it is private and public. It is private and public. One sec, guys. One sec. I'm gonna drink water. Resume. Let me delete this thing. Delete. Now I want to create. There are two types of registry: public registry and the private registry. So I click on the repository. I'll have private and public repositories. Let's start with public repository. So I'll click on it. I'll come to what? Create. Public. I'll give it a name. Cohort 2. I'll scroll. Every other thing is optional. Come down, click on what? Create. So this guy has now been created. So what I'll do, I'll click on this guy. Click on the repository name. So the moment you click, okay, there's nothing inside. So once you click on the repository name, come to here, view push commands. All right. We want to view the commands we can use to push this guy to AWS. So I'll click on view push commands. Now, this is what I need. The first step, they say use the AWS CLI. First is, they said retrieve an authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. Use the AWS CLI. let's see, AWS, this, get login password, US East 1. Username is this, password this. Let's see what happens. All right. Then step 2 says Docker build. This is for Docker Hub, Docker file, sorry, Docker 4. Then this is tagging. All right. Here you are tagging. You're tagging to this guy. Then you are pushing this guy. You're pushing this part. Right. The same similar thing we did with what's it called? With Docker Hub. But before then, we need to authenticate using what? AWS CLI. So that being said, I'll go to IAM. I'll go to IAM. I'll go to IAM. And I'll go to my user, Omero, security credentials, create an access key. All right. All right. Next, because I need to authenticate, guys, create. Access key has been created. So I'll copy this access key. I will come here. I'll say AWS configure. I'll provide the access key. Then I'll also provide what? The secret key. Then I'll provide the region, EU West 1, format, JSON. Great. So let me check. I'll say AWS STS gets caller identity. So I'm now authenticated from my CLI to my AWS account. So now I can now start running these other commands. My container. All right. So before, let me authenticate now. So I'll copy this command the way it is, the way it is. I'll copy it. Let me see what happens. Paste this guy. Paste. Cannot perform. Wait, let me check something. Okay. Okay. Let me log in first. Let me log in because you have to log into AWS ECR. Copy that guy. You have to log in. Copy this first part. All right. Let's log into AWS ECR.
What about the location?
This is the location. US East 1. It's public. All right.
Okay.
Yes, it's public. It's their default location. All right. Now enter. Let's see. Oh, but what's in the happen now? Wait. AWS ECR public. Wait. Sorry. Docker login. Docker login. Username is AWS. Password. Password standard input. Okay. Wait, let me come this side. Copy. Recall. Docker login. Username is AWS. Password standard in. They come. Let me copy this again. Copy. Oh no. Cannot perform an interactive login from a non-TTY device. Okay. So that means let me get this with EU. The common. Yeah, I'm coming. I need this. I don't pass the password now. EU West. EU. No, I don't perform an interactive login from a non-TTY device. Because we need to authenticate first. Let me check this thing again. Why is this thing going like this? Oh, oh, okay. So note, if you receive an error using this AWS CLI, make sure that you have the latest version of AWS CLI. So let's check the version of our AWS CLI, AWS dash version, dash version. So it's AWS CLI version 1. So we need version 2. Take note, guys. So come to Google, AWS CLI install. Remember in our previous video, we did install this guy. So I won't talk much about that guy. So you have to, you must have watched the video. Linux, copy everything like this, copy all those things, and all with that, and launch it. All right. So now let me exit and come back in again. Now we should have AWS dash version. Ogbeni. What's the last part? I don't know. Oh, okay. We've not installed this guy. Are you sure? Let me check. AWS install. Don't install now. Yes. We don't install. Okay, we need to do this part. If it's not going through, we need to do this second part. Copy as it is, all right? Just copy them, not do too much thing. To update the current installation, all right? Hit enter. It has updated, all right? So AWS dash version. Exit. AWS dash version. Okay, we have it here. Now sudo -i. AWS dash version. Is it showing 1 point at this level? What's this problem? All right, let me exit. Let me be at this level. All right. All right. So 2 point now. So on this guy, let me still check my login details. AWS STS gets caller identity. Oh. On this user, I need to authenticate too. I need to authenticate. AWS configure. Let's authenticate with that guy. Copy. All right. Copy. EU West 1, then JSON. Great. So AWS STS get caller identities or Meru. So now let's try to launch this guy now. Right? Copy this whole thing as it is. Copy. Just paste it. Let's see. Just paste it and see. So what's the error? It's saying got permission denied while trying to connect to the Docker daemon on this, right? So I'm going to use sudo. Sudo followed by that command, all right? Sudo followed by the command. So enter. Waiting now. Oh. So guys, if you're having this error, okay, look at now. It's giving me this error. Permission denied. Okay, so this is what I will do. I'm going to add this user as a member to the Docker group. There's a Docker group, all right? Cat etc group grep Docker. There's a group called Docker. So I'm going to add EC2 user as a member to that group. So this is what I would do. I'll say user mode -ag Docker, then the username EC2-user. I'll put a sudo so that I'm doing this so that EC2 will be able to run Docker commands, all right, without complaining of permission, right? So now let's check this file now, the group. You can see now EC2 is now a member of the Docker group. So it means that EC2 can comfortably run Docker commands, right? So if I do this now, I think we might not have much challenge. It's still showing me error. So I'm going to log out. Bash. Let me try it again. Exit out of bash. Permission denied. Wait. Sudo system ctl restart docker.service. All right. Now let me try one more time. Okay. So let's exit. The changes that were made has not taken effect. It doesn't take any effect because we added the EC2 user as a member to the Docker group so that the EC2 user can write into this file docker.sockets, right? So it's trying to use a Docker command. So that's why it's throwing up that error, right? So let's wait. Let's come back in again. All right, great. Now let's try that command one more time. This command again. Guys, you can see, warning, your password will be stored unencrypted under this guy. Configure credential helper, the same information we had when using Docker Hub. Login was succeeded. At this stage, I have comfortably authenticated with what? AWS ECR. I have authenticated with what? AWS ECR. Okay? Now, great. So the next thing now is to do my normal tagging so that I can do a push. All right? So this is what I will do. Let me copy this part. Copy. So let's do our normal tagging. So I'll say Docker tag my Ubuntu, because Docker images, I have my Ubuntu img, which I want to push to AWS ECR. So I'll say Docker tagu Ubuntu img column v1 space. This is my public repository. Paste. I want to give it what? V1. So I'll hit enter. This guy has been tagged. So if I say Docker images, I should have this guy. So this is this guy that I'm going to push. Now look at the last part. Docker push this guy, right? So I'll come here and say Docker push who? This guy. Copy column v1. All right, I'll hit enter. So this guy is now pushing the image to AWS ECR, public repository. All right, public repository. So guys, you see the way we maneuver, right? We maneuver ourselves. Okay, so let's just wait, be patient, and yeah, just be patient. So it's going to take some time. It's almost like 2 GB. So let me just pause this guy. Remember, I created the repository. I click on it. Then I come to what? View push commands to display all of this shit, guys. Don't forget. Close. Refresh. So the moment I refresh, I should see my image here. So this is my image version 1. All right. So if I need version 2 of this image, I'll do the same thing. I'll tag it again. Where's that tag? Version 2. Enter. I will push the version 2. Version 2. It has been pushed. Now let me refresh. Clean now, clean yourself. Thought we no did there. Right? So we have version 1, version 2. So if I need to change it to latest, tag it. Where's my tag? Latest. All right? Now I'm pushing what? The latest. That's been pushed. Docker images. All right? Now let's come here and refresh. I have latest, V1, and V2. So that's the order. All right? Now, watch, guys. Let me open this image tag. So it means that if I need to pull these guys, I will pull it based on their respective tags. These are the tags that I have. I have latest tag, I have V2 tag, I have V1 tag, right? So if I want to pull it, now let me delete what I have. Now in my local repository, I have these guys. I want to delete it. I'll say Docker RMI. Let me delete based on their image ID. Right? I'm deleting all of them at once. So it's not going. Image is referenced in multiple repositories. So this is what I'll do. I'll put my slash, my -f to forcefully delete them. So no such image that's been deleted. So Docker images, let's check. So those guys are gone. Ogbo show them. Okay, I have it. No worries. So this is what I'll do. I'll copy this URL. All right. I'll come here. I'll do Docker pull. That's Docker pull, right? Sorry, Docker pull. I'll say Docker pull. It's going to pull that guy from the remote repository. You see, it's pulling that image. So this is how you get to use that image. All right. So now I have this image with this very latest tag locally. So I say Docker images. I have it. So if I need with the tag V1, I will have it. If I need with the tag V2, I'm also going to have it. Now let's check. Docker images. So you can see I have them or you. So this is how you relate with what public repositories, right? ECR. Now let's try to create a private repository. Let's see what happens. Come back to repository, come to private, create private. It's private. Give it a name. Let me call it CC hot. CC hot, right? Let's scroll. Let's scroll. Create. CC hot has been created. Now, check this guy and click on what? View push commands. View push commands. Let's see. So this is the way you authenticate, all right? So I need to authenticate to this private repository. So it's something different as well. So copy this guy, copy it, come over here. I'll paste it, I'll enter. So login was successful, all right? Now, our normal process. So Docker images, all right? Now, I need to rename this guy. There's one other Docker command called Docker rename. I need to rename this guy to the formal name, right? So I'll say Docker rename. Docker rename this guy, copy with the tag v2 to Ubuntu img v2. From no such container. Fail to rename. Now container. No be image. No be image. Okay, let me use tagging. Let me tag it. Sorry, and tag I suppose you said. So let me tag this guy. So let me tag it. Docker tag. So tag this guy to v1. So it has been tagged. So if I say Docker images, you can see now I have back my guy. All right, great. So now I've logged into my private repository. So I need to perform some tagging, right? So copy this guy, come over here. So I need to do some tagging. So I'll say Docker tag what? Ubuntu img v1 to these old guys like this. Copy and paste. Let me give it a different tag name. Let me call it updates. All right. It has been tagged. It has been tagged. So let's check Docker images. So we have this guy. So I need to push this guy now to my private registry. So I'll say what? Docker push. Push this guy. Copy and paste. Column the tag update. Right? So I'm now pushing this guy to my private repository. So private repository means it is private. You can't do a pull from that repository. All right. You can't pull any image from there. That's why it is private. Public is open to everybody, but private is private to the organization and those who authenticate to the private repository. All right, guys. So I think we will be let's finish this phase, and we'll end there. Let me not mix up things. All right. So when we come next week Friday, by God's grace, we shall start afresh with Dockerfile. Right? We shall start off with Dockerfile because we shall see how we can create our own images manually. Create your own images, right, with the concept of Dockerfile and save them in your container registry. All right. So great. Let's check. This guy is still building. Right? Should be fine. Sorry, still pushing. Still pushing. So this is the beauty, guys. This is the beauty. This is a beauty. So let's check. Yeah, that's been pushed. Now let's refresh. Come here, close this guy, and open your repository. Bam, you have your tag updates. So this is your image. So this is everything we have been trying to do since morning. All right. So in today's lecture, let's wrap it up. We were able to see Docker push command. But before Docker push, we saw database, right? How we created two different containers, right? One is the Ubuntu container and the other is my SQL container. And we were able to what? To execute a database from the Ubuntu container, right? Execute a database running on the database container from the Ubuntu container. We were able to establish that. After that, we went up towards Docker copy. So Docker copy, we were told, and we saw it, how to copy files from your local machine into a container, and from a container back into your what? Local machine. Now, we also saw how to push Docker images to their respective registries, right? We saw Docker Hub. We also saw AWS ECR. All right, AWS ECR. So far good, so good, guys. So this is everything I have to dish out today. Is there any query? Is there any query before we call it a day, guys? Is there any query? Perfect. So, guys, I'll always say it. Please, 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 you try your best. You try your best. You try and you have to practice. You have to practice so that you become master. All right? You become master. Docker is one thing that you should be a master over. All right? You should master Docker so that when you go to anywhere, you hear people talking about Docker, just look at them. You open your mouth. As you open your mouth and tell them that you're a Docker champion, they'll just look at you with one kind of eye. Docker champion. Yes, you're a Docker champion. You know, so it's not those words are not free. Those words, they come with a price tag. You can't just open your mouth and say you're a champion. You have to prove your championship. All right. So great, guys. So the only way to prove your championship is by practicing. All right. Like I earlier mentioned, I'm preparing for you guys as well in my DevSecOps come 2024. That will be in February by God's grace. January, people are traveling, bag will go down, bag will drop. So I want me back come up by February. All right. We are starting a new whole series, man. DevSecOps. All right. DevSecOps, man. All right. So if you're interested, you have to be very serious. Sorry. Let me dig it. You have to be very serious with your DevOps. All right. With your DevOps. Know it back to back. All right. Then, because guys, this DevOps space is becoming a bit, there are a lot of jobs, so yakpa. All right. But time will come, they'll start pricing DevOps engineers as if they price crayfish, you know. So for you not to be priced as as if you're pricing crayfish. Guy, you need to top up. You need to top up. So me, I'm topping up. I'm topping up. So that will be my first time I'm teaching DevSecOps. I'm equal to the task by God's grace. All right. So I'll be most of you guys have not registered on my channel. You've not subscribed to my channel. It's not fair. It's not fair. Please encourage me, support me. So guys,